in Classic Physique. Going to be reviewing 3 of the classic shows we had this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So we had the Optimum Classic here in the United States, in Louisiana. We had the German Classic Pro, which was an inaugural show, and Dennis James promoted that one. So that was a pretty cool show. Saw a lot of really good European talent there. And then we also had the Asia Grand Prix Pro, the AGP, as some of you might know it, which brings talent from all over the Eastern Hemisphere. So China, Korea, Russia, the Middle East, you name it. A lot of guys showing up at that one, and all pretty exciting results here. So I'm going to jump into that and then also discuss. We got one more classic show that's coming up next weekend, June 2nd. I'll reveal what that show is and kind of give you guys an idea of what to expect there. But before we jump into everything, just want to again highlight the Evogen Nutrition, which is my supplement partner. I use their stuff year round. I've been using it for my contest preps, for my off seasons. I used this stuff back when I was a power lifter, like before I even got into bodybuilding. I've just loved their supplements, and I actually approached them wanting to work with them. So they're my supplement partner. And if you guys use code CPC at checkout right now, you guys can get extra discounts on what's already discounted. So we got the Memorial Day sale going on right now. Evogen is having great discounts on all the best supplements out there. You guys can go to their website right here and get some really good deals on some high quality supplements. Personally, my favorite stuff is like your very basic bodybuilding supplements. Whether you're a bodybuilder or just somebody who's a fitness enthusiast or someone who just like really likes good tasting and high quality nutritional supplements, the Whey Isolate is awesome right here. You guys can see that. They got the pre-workouts. I love their pre-workouts. And then also their aminos. Fantastic. Creatine, thermogenics. They've got just about everything you can think of. They've got awesome apparel like I'm rocking here. I've got an Evogen shirt on. So everything is on sale on the website. You guys should go check it out. But use code CPC again and check out to support me. That's in the description if you guys want to do that. But let's jump into some of these classic shows, guys. Really exciting results. So in the Optimum Classic, some of these shows, a little hard to get the coverage during the show. There weren't any live streams with the exception of the AGP Pro. But the Optimum Classic was a really good show. Lots of up and coming American talent. So the winner of the show was actually a Brazilian, Eric Wildberger. He won the Pittsburgh Pro just a couple weeks back. We kind of foresaw this. Eric was the most accomplished bodybuilder heading into this show. And if you guys caught the preview with Classic Pro Jay Yount and I, we both had predicted that Eric would win this show simply because Eric won the show last year, which got him to his first Olympia. He also won the Pit Pro, like I said, 2 weeks ago, finished second in New York a week prior to this. And Eric just brings great classic shape, very good condition, very polished stage presence. And Eric is going to go back to the Olympia again this year with that win in Pittsburgh and another one here at Optimum. So I'll be intrigued to see if Eric goes for another show win. I don't really know if he's planning on shutting it down before the Olympia, but he very well could go pick up another win while he's still here in the States, because as many of you know, Eric is from Brazil and is really just trying to hit all these American shows. So big congrats to Eric. And in second place, we had another 2022 Olympian. This was Lamar Shaw. Lamar has recently kind of been on the cusp of the first call out in some of these shows that he's been in, but a great showing here at Optimum and really displayed his strengths, which are shape and structure in great condition. Lamar brought a fantastic package to this show, and I think he's going to be in the conversation if he chooses to compete again for another Olympia qualification. I really hope he gets there because he is very, very classic. And in third place, we have Barry Irving, Sporty, as some of you may know him. Again, I think this is one of his, if not his best package to date. The condition was there. He brings the posing, and I think he just has a very, very classic look to him. I would like to say probably kind of like that 80s golden, like tail end of the golden era type of look, which is one of my favorite classic looks. So really great job from Sporty here. And then in fourth place, Kirk Anderson. So this is Kirk's best performance to date as well. Again, you can see very detailed and shredded, good structure too. So congrats to Kirk there. I don't know if Kirk has ever been in a first call out as a pro. He's a relatively new pro. I think this is just his second season as a pro. So fantastic job to Kirk, especially being a new dad. Like that's not an easy thing to do. So Kirk definitely brought it here at Optimum, and I think he'll probably continue to go. I would be surprised if Kirk shuts it down for the year, just because this was only his first appearance this year. He's already in shape, and we've got plenty of shows going on throughout the summer. So you may see a lot of these guys continue to hit shows as the year progresses, because we have at least one or two American Classic shows virtually every weekend. And another American competitor, we've got Adam Thomas. So this is Adam's first call out and top 5 here at a classic show. So Adam moved up from men's physique a couple of years ago, debuting at the Texas Pro back in 2022. He was 9th at New York the week before this, and I predicted him to be here in the top 5, and that's where he ended up landing. Just because I think he's got superb structure. He looks great. He's got lots of width, plenty of detail. The conditions nailed every time. He works with Cuts, who's like the men's physique coaching GOAT by far. And I mean, the stage package that they bring every single time is just on. Like they don't miss when they bring a package to the stage. So I really like what Adam brought, and I think he's going to just continue to get better as his classic career progresses. In sixth place, we had Camilo Diaz. And I think this is probably not the best we've seen him. Camilo, I've seen sharper and fuller. He still has very good structure, very classic, but I do think we've seen a better Camilo Diaz than what we saw here at Optimum. I think sixth place is pretty justified here, simply because the guys who finished ahead of him were, either better structurally or better in terms of condition. He doesn't give up size to very many people. So definitely one of the bigger guys in this lineup too. In seventh, we had Matt Orchard. This was his second pro appearance. He's out of Australia, debuted at the New York Pro just a week prior to this. So Matt is one of those guys who I think he just has, great classic structure, lots of width up top through the lats, the wide clavicles, you name it. Just needs to continue to build the legs. When the legs come up a little bit more, he's going to be really hard to beat. And in eighth, we had Chibueze, aka Zay Anyasor. Another one of those guys who's like very, very classic looking, great density, just round muscle bellies, really good flow, and maybe just like dialing in the condition a little bit more, and he'll start to place like in that first call out. In ninth, we had Hunter Lee, who he's kind of making the transition up to 212 right now. So he won his pro card as a middleweight bodybuilder, and he's one of those like bodybuilders. So right now he's able to make the weight cap for classic, so he's competing in classic, but I know his ultimate goal is to get to 212, and I think structurally he's very good. I think potentially just filling out the legs a little bit more, that's going to do him very, very good. So I thought he brought a great package in his pro debut. And then in 10th, we had Harold Bright, who is still, in my opinion, one of the best Masters pros out there, especially over 50. Harold's just massive and has a lot of very good classic qualities. So Harold Bright there in 10th. So those are the results from the Optimum Classic Pro in Shreveport, Louisiana. That was just one of the classic shows we had. So we also had the German Classic Pro, which was won by Luca Reger. So this guy is only 22 years old. A lot of really talented Europeans are starting to come up in the classic ranks, especially this year. We've already had a couple of European guys. So Luca being one of them. Jose Manuel out of Spain, another, I think he's either 22 or 23. So we've got a lot of really talented young European classic pros, superb shape, who are beating guys who've been to the Olympia multiple times. And there was a bit of controversy kind of in these results, and you'll see as I go through these what I might be referring to. Some people were kind of questioning why accomplished bodybuilders were losing to newer bodybuilders, and I think some of it is just due to some judges like specific criteria and emphasize more than others do. And generally speaking, in terms of classic, a lot of us are used to what the top judges, like the Steve Weinbergers and maybe the Tyler Manions, are doing in terms of a judging. So we're typically used to seeing what they like, and that's what's being um, kind of like the standard in our mind. Whereas if you're going to some of these European shows, you're getting in front of different judges and they might like different classic qualities more than others. So, for example, the European judges may favor muscularity or specific, classic characteristics like width or balance and proportion over muscle mass. It's within bodybuilding. There's like a sliding scale of kind of all these different qualities, and I think the European judges do tend to go with different things than the American judges. And you'll see that just because you don't see a whole lot, and this is not to diss Europeans, but you're not going to see a whole lot of Europeans placing in the top 10 at the Classic Olympia. It's with the exception of Urs. Urs is like that one exception, but you're going to just see lots of, people. You've got Brazilians, Canadians, you've got Urs, like I mentioned, but you've got lots of Americans, and, you do get a European here and there, but for the most part, we haven't seen a whole lot of European guys place very well at the Classic Olympia. And that's simply because me getting to the heart of the matter is in Europe, I think they like shape a lot more. And in the United States, you have to, in order to get looked at, you generally have to be in better shape and bigger in order for them to look at your shape. So you have to meet the mass criteria and the condition criteria before your shape even gets looked at. Whereas I think in Europe, they're quantifying everything based on shape and condition first, and not necessarily quantifying how big you are. Because what you'll notice here is there's some guys with great structure and they're bigger, but they're losing to guys who might have slightly better structure, but they're not as big, or they may not be as conditioned. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. You got Luca Rager, who I think, there's plenty of justification for him winning this show because he's got great structure. And in the footage that I saw, he looked very, very good. Now, I haven't looked at stage shots shot for shot. I wasn't at the show, so my opinion is only probably about 50% informed in this right. We had Alexander Westermeyer here in second place, a 2022 Olympian. He's battled with very good pros for some of these top spots at American shows, namely like the Pittsburgh Pro, the New York Pro. Alexander's competed in some very high-profile shows, though hasn't really placed well in a lot of these recent showings. We've got Ferran Mignana. I think this guy has a great future in Classic. He's a younger pro based out of Spain, and he did pretty well back at the California Supplements Pro. He was fourth there, which was his pro debut, third here. So he's climbing up the ranks, and I think he's got great structure and muscularity, the conditions there too. So this guy is someone to watch going forward. In fourth, we had Brian Tomo Birchman. This is kind of where I start to see the placings. They could have been shuffled around depending on the judges who were there. So this is where I'm kind of referring to the structure is what was favored the most in this show. So structure was probably the biggest, the highest prioritized criterion here. Because what you'll notice is we've got guys who are very good structurally, but they're not the biggest. So Brian Tomo Birchman. And then in fifth, we had Armin Mayer. So very good structurally again. Lots of width through the lats, the deltoids. He's got the wide clavicles. Really good front lat spread there. And we had Manuel Moisel. Now, here's where I'm kind of confused with the judging is if you look at Manuel here in sixth, he looks great, But what you'll notice is he doesn't really have the upper lower symmetry that a couple of these guys behind him have. In 7th, we had Shane Cullen. Small waist, but again, I don't think the condition's quite there. And then you look at Herman Pastor. This guy's won multiple classic physique contests. He won 2 classic shows last year alone. This guy's been to the Olympia like 3 or 4 times. And I don't see how this is 8th place. I think this should have been easily top 5. He has a lot of muscle mass in all the videos that I saw of this show, particularly the Instagram live with the footage, which I'm kind of having trouble finding. This guy outsized just about everybody on stage. You can see the conditions there. This guy never misses on condition, and he has great structure too. Like, this guy to me is very, very classic, and he's won lots of shows, which backs that up. I don't see personally how he is 8th place in this show. I don't know what the reasoning is, but I'd be intrigued to see what the judges had to say. Again, Andrea Mamoli here, very great classic structure, and has only placed well in his few pro appearances. And then in 10th, we had Andre Gerstner, who was very conditioned, not as strong structurally as some of these other guys, but very, very good in terms of condition, and was probably, in my opinion, structurally equivalent, maybe slightly worse, but much better in terms of condition than some of these guys who were, 5 and 6 and 7. So the judging here, I think, is very interesting. I'm not going to sit here and say that, it's wrong, because I think there are multiple interpretations of bodybuilding, and different judges like different things. And what I'm saying here is, from my standard of what judging typically is here in America, or at, the Olympia, maybe the Arnold Classic, this is a different judging standard. This is different eyes and different judges who prioritize different things. So those are just my thoughts. I'll be kind of intrigued to see what some of these European shows going forward look like. This could be a uniquely, German judging panel. I don't know who the judging panel was, so a bit of an interesting result here at the German Classic Pro. And then finally, our last show that was this past weekend was the AGP Pro in Korea. So that was won by Mikhail Timoshin of Russia. This is his very first pro win. He's going to be making his Olympia debut. He's a veteran competitor. He's placed top 5 at some pretty big pro shows in Europe in the past. And this is a guy who has really just been knocking on the door and finally was able to break through. So big congrats to Mikhail. And here in 2nd place, we had Saman Olfati, who, kind of an interesting story here. He won the amateur show just before the pro show. He had won a pro card before in the IFBB, and then decided to compete in other federations, and thus forfeited his pro card. So he re-won a pro card at the show, proceeded to go compete at the pro show, and then got 2nd in an Olympia qualifying show, which is really impressive. And then 3rd place, we had Kai Lu. You can kind of see him right there on the right. So this is the full photo of all the classic competitors. So you got Mikhail, who won the show there in the middle. Saman, who I just mentioned, to his left was 2nd place. Kai Lu out of China. Again, another top 3 showing for him. I don't think he's ever placed outside of the top 3 in the classic show. So Kai Lu is probably, outside of Branch Chen, China's best classic physique competitor right now. Maybe, I take that back. Probably 3rd best. Shai Cheng Jin, who has won multiple classic shows and recently competed at the New York Pro, has beaten Kai Lu a few times, so he's probably the 2nd best. So Kai Lu, probably China's 3rd best classic competitor at the moment. Another great performance from him. Then here, I believe we have, what is this guy's name? It's another Iranian. So there were 3 Iranians here in this lineup. So this was here in 4th place. We had Mahdi Parvani. So that's his best placing that I'm aware of. So 4th place for him. And then there in 5th place, the other Iranian, Mohammad Mahmoudi. So 3 Iranians here in the top 5 at the AGP Pro, which is very impressive and kind of surprising to me, in sixth place, we had uh, Shaiqian Shaiqian Wang from China. So he was an Olympian last year. He won this show last year and finished in sixth here. So I just think from what I saw, muscularity was not quite as good as some of these other guys, particularly, Mikhail, that top three especially. I don't think he was there in terms of the muscularity. So that is your top six at the AGP Pro. And our next show that we've got coming up is the Mid USA Pro, which is June 2nd. So this is our only classic physique show this upcoming weekend. Going to be an exciting show. There's always one, you know, guy who comes out of this show who makes himself like a competitor in that top two or three call outs at the Olympia. The past few years, it's been really, really exciting to see who wins this show. Camilo Diaz, you can see on the poster right there. He won the show back in 2022. Last year, we had Damian Patrick win the show. And in second place at that same show, we had Jeremiah Willies. Jeremiah Willies just most recently won a show. He's going to go to his first Olympia this year. So we've got a lot of really talented kind of guys who are making their push up through classics. So guys who may not be household names, but are very seasoned, very good classic pros who end up really are on, like they're on the upper trajectory. Guys who very well could be in that discussion for like top 15 at the Olympia. So I think we'll see some really good American classic pros here in this show. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some guys again from South America or Latin America jump into this one. Maybe a couple Canadians too. But that list is supposed to come out sometime. I'm hoping tonight around 8 Eastern Standard Time, which is like the typical time that they drop the lineup, but sometimes that's delayed, as today is a holiday here in America, for those of you who don't know. So they may delay that list until tomorrow. That tends to happen sometimes. But that's going to do it for this week in Classic Physique, the weekly breakdown of the classic shows here in Men's Classic Physique. And I'll be sure to give you guys all the updates, drop the lineup here from Mid USA as soon as I get it. And again, if you guys want to support me here at CPC Bodybuilding, you guys can go to Evogen. Take advantage of this Memorial Day sale. It's one of the biggest of the year. You can get great supplements for a great price. Support me with code CPC at checkout. Would really appreciate that, guys. But again, I want to thank you for watching another edition of This Week in Classic Physique. I'm Brant. Make sure you guys keep it classic. I'll see y'all later.